Ben, you've been covering the problems with the economy and the labor market to which basic income could be part of the solution. What are these problems that you're concerned about?
I think that we have a major mismatch in the labor market. We have people without jobs and jobs without people. And by the way, this is not just about uneducated people. This is much more than that. Canada is the most educated country in the OECD in terms of the number of people going to universities, but we're also the number one country in terms of the number of educated people that live in poverty. So we cannot translate those degrees into good jobs and income. And that's the issue. And that's why we have to deal with it. This is not just about education, it's much more than that. But clearly, we have to fix this problem because it does impact the overall productivity of the economy and therefore the lifestyle of everybody in Canada.
You've also pointed out that growth in our labor market seems to be happening primarily in low-income jobs and low-quality jobs. What's going on there?
We have something that we developed a few years ago. We call it the Employment Quality Index, because when you look at the media, the focus is always on the number of jobs created, good or bad. Now we have to focus on what kind of jobs. The quality of employment is really as important as the number of new jobs created on a given month. And you look at the quality of employment over time, and the direction is very clear. It's down, 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 namely more people working in low-wage occupations, the gig economy, and clearly COVID-19 has exposed this vulnerability of the labor market, something that we have to deal with. And I think that's what you guys are trying to do at this point.
You have mentioned that crises are always a trend accelerator. What are the trends you're most concerned of?
COVID-19 was a trend accelerator, and there are many, many of them that were accelerated. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. One of the bad ones is the growing gap between income, wealth in Canada, namely a situation in which this gap has been widening before the crisis, and now it's widening faster. Again, the crisis has exposed the vulnerability of the system, and we know from the experience in the US over the past 4 years that if you don't do anything about it, it will become much larger. This is an issue that we have to deal with. It's really the right thing to do. And again, this is a step in the right direction.
What impact do you see automation having on the Canadian labor market?
Yes, when you read the popular press, the narrative is that automation will lead to reduced employment. Now, this is not the case. The opposite is the case. In fact, automation will increase employment, but the type of employment is the issue. And that's why my focus is also on education, because we are seeing the Canadian society changing in a very significant way, and we don't see education changing in the appropriate way. Namely, the labor market is changing at the speed of light, and the education system is behaving like nothing happened. And we are really looking at the economy being transformed into something different. And we are in a transition period, and that's why so many people are unable to cope. We need something to help them and to buy time until we find the right way to deal with the new economy. Education is a very important part of it, but in between, we have to buy time to allow those people that cannot survive in the new economy to be able to live.
What is the number one problem you're worried about, and how is basic income part of the solution?
I believe that the rising income inequality, wealth inequality in Canada is the number one issue facing our society currently and in the future. We must find a solution. I believe that basic income must be at least the beginning of the discussion about this solution. And this is extremely important for policymakers. Remember, the solution is not about transfer of money. It's about providing people with the ability to participate in the new economy and enhance the economic multiplier of every solution.
So what about this report? Did you find it exciting? What's new about this report from your point of view?
Well, I've been looking at UBI for a while, and in my opinion, this is the most comprehensive report dealing with the situation, with the way to finance it and the implications of this issue. I believe also that it illustrates the fact that it's not really about the charity. It's not about transferring income. It's more than that. It's enhancing the overall ability of the economy to grow, and therefore productivity that will enhance everybody's else standard of living. That's why I think this report is important. It must be a starting point for any policymaker that is interested in solving the problem. I don't know if this is the solution, but this is clearly the number one step in terms of finding a solution.
For me, something that was interesting about this report is it shows that basic income is not just a social program, it's an economic reform. It could be thought of as an investment. I'm curious how you see that, this notion that basic income could be an investment, a sustainable one at that.
Yes, I think this is a very important point, the issue of UBI as an investment as opposed to charity or transfer of income to individuals, because we have to remember the magnitude of the problem is significant. It impacts the psyche of people and the ability of the economy to grow. So it's a productivity issue, and therefore I suggest that if you deal with this basic problem, you enhance the ability of the economy to grow. Overall productivity at this point, given this gap, is suboptimal. If you enhance the ability of the economy to grow, everybody benefits, because productivity is the number one factor impacting standard of living, not only of the poor, but everybody. And that's why I believe that the economic multiplier of this solution is actually going to be enhanced and help the economy long term.
Yeah, in fact, the report only looks at the econometrics impact of additional money flowing into the economy through lower income households, increasing the velocity of money. But it doesn't look at perhaps the most important things, is people's capacity to innovate. What people will do when they can take risks. And I think right now we need to unlock Canada's ability to take risks, because only innovation has created wealth consistently throughout history of humanity. And
Absolutely.
I'm very excited about basic income.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Benjamin. Really appreciate it.
Good luck with everything. And yeah, I'm sure it will be great.